We are in the month of October. We are a quarter of a way through the NFL regular season. And there are stories, there have been cuts, there have been signings. Big players have been on the move. 2 within the last 24 hours. Jaylon Smith is expected to be a member of the Green Bay Packers, and Stephon Gilmore was traded to the Carolina Panthers earlier today. John and I are going to give us your instant reactions on those 2 deals and what it means for all of the parties included. In segment 2, we are going to cover a couple of NFL games that we liked over the course of the past week, specifically the Giants and the Saints.
Interesting.
And we'll throw a wild card game in there at some point. And then in segment 3, we are going to do our normal fantasy football sleepers and busts. And I finally beat John this week in game picks. So we are going to keep it going this week. Perfect Spiral is in its 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th month of podcasting.
We've been doing this 8 months.
Well, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October.
Holy shit.
8 months. Perfect Spiral is almost 3/4 of a year old. So let's get rocking. Spencer, roll the tape.
You play to win the game.
Touchdown! Can't wait.
John, my boy.
Joe, I don't like you right now.
John is upset with me today, folks. John's upset with me today.
I'm not happy.
Tell the good people why you're upset with me, John.
So obviously you've heard us, reference our Ronaldo league, which is this me and Joe do a couple of fantasy leagues together, but this is Joe's league. This is his baby. I was lucky enough to join the league.
It's a fantastic league.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the best fantasy league you'll ever be in. When I joined, 6 years ago?
Has it been that long?
It's either been no. I joined maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Obviously, I've won 2 championships. I've been to what you would consider. I've been to 4 NFC championship games, and I've been to 2 championship games. I'm 2-0, winningest player. I just want to, before I dog Joe, I just need to say this: I'm the winningest player in Ronaldo League history. I'm the winningest playoff player in Ronaldo League history. Yeah, I mean, I'm really just Bill Belichick. But anyway, so I have a tendency to make really crazy trades. So I use my draft picks because it's a keeper league as trade chips for assets to field a starting lineup that I feel like can let me contend. So this past year, I didn't draft until the 8th round, but I was able to finagle my way into creating another super team, I feel like. Joe decided that he was going to copycat me and take my logic, which is great. I think it's awesome. I'm mad, but I'm also this is fucking awesome. He took my logic and he created his own super team, of course, when me and him are playing together each other this week.
I did.
A battle of 3-1s.
I did.
He made some crazy trades. He traded for Patrick Mahomes and DK Metcalf today after I traded for Hopkins and Kamara yesterday. He never does this either. Joe's the most conservative fantasy player ever.
I am. I value myself as a tactician, and I really do my homework on the draft. And I feel like I always get guys at their value, or I even get guys at a greater value than they're drafted at.
You did draft really well this year.
And I really pride myself on drafting a very, very solid team. It's not so because of that, I need to have all my draft picks, because if I don't, then I feel like I kind of suffer. Mm-hmm. But this year, with the team I have, I feel like it's very strong.
It is.
I feel like it's one of the upper echelon teams in the league. And I feel like the moves I made today really put me in a prime position to kind of, really, really have probably the best shot I've ever had at taking home the trophy.
Which sits currently on my couch.
Which it does. But, this is going to be the first week with my new squad. And we'll see how it works out.
I just have one more thing I want to tell the listeners. Joe.
Yeah.
I'll see you in December, my friend.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
This is a championship preview this week.
That's all.
Instead of previewing our game of the week for the NFL, we should preview our fantasy matchup as a game of the week.
Wow. Wow.
That would be sick.
We could do that in our third segment. That's fine.
Just like real quick, talk about it.
So that was our little bit of banter. Welcome to Perfect Spiral, episode number 33, John.
3 threes.
3 threes. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe our podcast anywhere you may be listening, whether that's Spotify or Apple or Google, Deezer, Stitcher, or Buzzsprout. John, we're in week 4 of the NFL. Week 5 is right around the corner of the NFL season. Week 4 just came and went. So let's get to some news and notes.
Oh, there's quite a
in
bit.
segment 1, which we have more news and notes in this week 4 than I think we may have had in the first 3 weeks combined.
Yeah.
So let's start with was the earliest news today, and that was the new. So let's replay this. Stefan Gilmore was rumored, and it was leaked that he was going to be cut this morning by the Patriots after they quote unquote couldn't find any trade partners. And lo and behold, then a couple of hours later, we find out that he's traded to the Carolina Panthers
For a 6th round pick.
for a 6th round pick. Now, John, you did the diligence of sending me a picture of the cap numbers pre-Stephon Gilmore. Mm-hmm. And we were contemplating what teams would go after him, right? And we were thinking, maybe Tampa, but they don't have the cap space. Or you brought up the Cleveland Browns. The Carolina Panthers were number 2 on the most available cap space on that list left.
And that's huge.
They have $10 million available to them this season that they could still use. So not only do I think it makes sense that they make this deal, they are also, obviously, I would think, going to lock him up for the next 4 or 5 seasons and probably use that $10 million a year for this year, counting towards whatever cap number they have for this season. What do you think about what Carolina did in this trade? Obviously, they didn't give up a lot of capital, so it's all about them signing him to a long-term contract. What do you think it means for them as a team?
So this was his big thing, right? So when they couldn't agree to a long-term deal, restructured with New England, so they parted their ways, which was unprecedented. I feel like it was. Never in my memory was there 2 free agents that were available so early in the season that were so good at their positions, right? So going to Carolina, they're going to give him I feel like it's like an agree in principle thing to give him a long-term deal. I would hope they would.
Right.
But what this does is, and Joe, you were on this super early when we did our preseason pod. You were like, something is brewing in Carolina, and now something is boiling. Something is happening. There is noise out of Carolina because now not only did they, first of all, J.C. Horn was fantastic before he got hurt. I mean,
Right.
small sample size.
Very small.
Traded for C.J. Henderson, who was a young, unproven
Project.
corner. Yes.
Right.
Who still, at the end of the day, was a top 10 pick.
But he's now there literally, when Horn comes back, he's their 4th cornerback.
How insane is that?
He's their 4th corner.
And now you get Stephon Gilmore, who I just want to remind everybody is probably the best number 1. He's the best one-on-one corner in the NFL when healthy.
Over Ramsey and Jair Alexander? I don't know about that.
He has the most pass deflections over the course of a 2-year span.
I think he's top 5. I don't know if he's number 1, but I get your point.
Yeah, he's defensive player of the year.
Continue.
Yep. So for a team that's defense is young, hungry, they have one of the best defenses already in the league.
Yeah, I think they have a top 5 defense now.
Yeah.
I think the number 1 defense in the league currently belongs to the Cleveland Browns because they've managed to shut every team down they've played so far this year. But I don't know a lot of defenses currently better than the Carolina Panthers defense. Mm-hmm. Their defensive line has tons of first-round draft picks on it. Very, very similar to what the Washington football team did. Brian Burns, Derek Brown.
Hassan Reddick,
who they signed. And then they have the
Shaq Thompson,
a phenomenal secondary. Let me just give you a list of their top 5 corners, okay? Probably in order, right? When Horn is healthy. Gilmore, Dante Jackson, J.C. Horn, C.J. Henderson, and they have A.J. Boye, who's past his prime, but he's their 5th corner.
Don't forget about Jeremy Chin back there.
Jeremy Chin's also a safety who's very good. Mm-hmm. So they're a top 10 unit in every facet of defense. And They have a young, bright play caller in Joe Brady, who I don't think is going to be there next year because I think he's going to be a head coach somewhere.
I agree. I think he will.
So the only thing about this team that holding me back, and I know he's had a good season, but the only team holding me back is the quarterback. I don't know if Sam Darnold is good enough to get it done in a big game. That's my only bugaboo with this team. They played a playoff team this past week in Dallas, and he was not great passing the ball.
No,
he ran for 2 scores.
Which is weird. He has the most.
But he also
touchdowns.
threw 2 picks. He was not super accurate. So I think this team has a ceiling with Sam. But I also think that they are going to be a prime contender. Whenever the time comes, they are going to be a prime contender for Deshaun Watson. I think they are
100%.
going to be at the top of that list, along with teams like Denver and Miami. And Washington, but I think that the Panthers are right there. You know, they see an opening to really put themselves in the cream of the crop in the NFC. You know, and I really think I think you put them right now in this Denver Bronco category.
Yeah, they're ahead of schedule.
They're ahead of schedule.
For sure.
They're in the 3 or 4 teams we just mentioned. I think they're all in the same category. They're that superstar quarterback away category.
Yes.
All 4 of those teams are superstar quarterback away category.
Like they could be a destination for Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely. But I think that the Panthers now have catapulted themselves talent-wise to the top of that list. Over Miami, over Denver, over Washington.
Joe, they're 100% a destination.
I think they have a great defense, and they have the best running back in the NFL, and they have a really budding superstar in DJ Moore at receiver.
And their coach. Don't forget about
Their
Matt
coach.
Rule. Matt Rule's a player's coach.
So I think they really got something cooking. Now on the other side, what does this mean for New England? Because
This is an indictment on them.
Is it though? And I'm glad you said that because, and I'm going to compare this to something that another team in baseball. Okay, I'm going to cross sports really quick. The Tampa Bay Rays, okay, are a small market team. Okay, they have a $60 million payroll in baseball, which is probably I think the lowest in the league, right? And they just came off a 100-win season. Won the American League East. They're probably one of the best teams in the league. Have World Series aspirations. Could very well win the World Series this year. They are notorious for getting great players, great player development, and then trading those stars for prospects. And they always seem to get rid of those stars at the exact right time, where they really don't do a lot for the team that they go to. And I wonder if the Patriots are the same way, because when's the last time the Patriots really got bit on a trade when they traded away a guy? Remember when they traded away Kyle Van Noy, or they let Kyle Van Noy go to the Dolphins and he sucked?
So then they got him back on the cheap.
Or they traded Jamie Collins and he wasn't great after he left.
Well, they just got him back actually.
Right, they traded Trent Brown. They got rid of Trent Brown. He went to Vegas and now he's back. It just seems like they get rid of these guys at the right time. So, is it wrong of me to think that them getting rid of Gilmore tells me more about where Gilmore is than more of where the Patriots are?
You know what's funny? I agree with you to an extent, but I feel like Gilmore is the exception because Gilmore is like Trent Brown was a system player, right?
Okay.
Jamie Collins does well in that system. Gilmore was productive to the point of where he was an all-pro. He was a Pro Bowler. He was a Defensive Player of the Year under the umbrella of when he played in New England. But you have to remember this, Joe, and this is the one thing I'm going to push back on.
Okay.
When he played in Buffalo, Buffalo was irrelevant.
Gilmore.
They
Okay.
were an irrelevant team in Buffalo. If you're on a bad team and you're the best corner on a bad team, let's think back. Nadi Asamoah.
Huh.
When you're a good corner on a bad team, nobody cares. Nobody cares about Gilmore. But as soon as Gilmore was available, boom, Gilmore's getting paid top dollar. Why is he an All-Pro? Why is he a Pro Bowler? Why is he Defensive Player of the Year? Well, because he plays for New England. But the talent was always there for Gilmore. Like, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like you can't. The New England Patriots organization getting rid of Gilmore because it's just simply like, well, we want you to play 75 to 80% of the snaps, but we're not going to pay you until you play. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. They want to maneuver the cap to such a way where they feel like they're in control. You saw how this played out with Tom Brady.
Right.
It wasn't good. Now you're losing talent on the other side of the ball in Gilmore, who is probably one of the best players that Belichick's ever signed. There's a cause for concern, at least to me, in some respect.
I mean, their defense this past Sunday and this season has been pretty good without Gilmore. Hasn't been bad. They shut down Tom Brady on Sunday night in a game which
we'll get to that,
where I think he was, very mediocre in a game where I think people are expecting him to do amazing.
Oh, he looked mortal, yeah.
Right. So I think they feel like J.C. Jackson is emerging as a superstar cornerback.
He is.
And I feel like they, they could produce another corner on the outside, and they're expecting Jackson to take Gilmore's role, obviously.
Apparently, yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I agree with you, though. I mean, listen, the Patriots are 1-3. That's the reality of the situation right now. Mm-hmm. They're not offensively. I don't think they've taken that step that a lot of people thought they were going to take. So, Jones was good. We'll talk about that game later. Let's move on to the next move, which is Jaylon Smith getting released by the Cowboys and not signed yet, but expected to land in Green Bay. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys side about that first. What do you think the move means for Dallas? Because there were rumblings that Smith was going to get released in the preseason. He didn't, but he only lasted till week 4. What do you think there?
So first of all, he's owed almost $8 million, and that move creates a level of dead cap for them. I think it's something like $9 million in dead cap for them.
Okay.
They still owe him $7.8 million worth of salary. So Green Bay essentially is getting him on the cheap right now. I think it was a dumb move. And I'm going to tell you why I think it was a dumb move. Because I was going to say this in the fantasy group chat, but I couldn't spell his name out. It just kept autocorrecting it. Did they forget that they have Leighton Vander Esch, who they didn't even pick up his option? Or they did pick up his option, but there's no long-term deal in sight. And he's always hurt. Did they forget about that? Because I didn't. I didn't forget that this team does get bit by the injury bug, which granted, you could always have depth, but Jaylon Smith's only 25 years old, and he's a Pro Bowler.
I feel like they got rid of him because of how good Micah Parsons is already. And that's why they didn't get rid of him in the preseason. When they saw how good Parsons is already, they felt like he was expendable. It's the only thing I could come up with. I don't like the move either.
You questioned it on draft night. I remember you going, well, this is interesting because now you have Jaylon Smith, Vander Esch, Sean Lee, and Micah Parsons.
Well, Lee's gone now.
He's obviously gone now, so that solved that part. But now you're like, oh boy, we have the Dodgers game on, and there is just
tough play.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's just a weird move for me. When they released him, I was like, Jaylon Smith was good. He was good.
He is good. And I think, he's a downhill linebacker. He's not a guy that's great in coverage. He's good against the run, not great against the pass. So, I think that they probably feel that their run defense is sufficient enough where they don't need him and the money doesn't pay because they're not as good in the pass defense. But I really liked what that unit was doing as a whole this year.
Yeah, it's just weird. If it's not broke, why are you going to fix it?
I agree. Do I think it's a move that completely makes their defense bad? No, I don't. I think that part is being blown out of proportion a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't think the defense suffers mightily. I think it may suffer a little bit, but I don't think it suffers mightily. The only place where I really question it is in the locker room. Because, and I don't know this, but was Jaylon Smith really well liked? Was he not well liked? I think that goes into releasing a player. Because I guarantee you, if he's a team leader on that team, they don't get rid of him.
He's been a captain before.
But what does that mean, though?
Yeah, you're right.
You know, like...
It's diminished at this point.
What does that mean? Is he a captain? I mean, who's the leader in that team? Dak Prescott, right?
Of course.
You know, DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
Those guys are the leaders of that team. You know, Tyron Smith. Veterans who have been there for a while. I don't know the situation. I'm surprised, though. I don't love the move. On the flip side, for Green Bay... I think this is a good move. I think this is a guy that you bring in. You know, your defense was okay. It wasn't great. I think this definitely enhances it. They, on the flip, have not been great against the run, so I think that helps them. And, you know, they're missing Zadarius Smith this year now. He's out for the season, I believe, with an injury. So they're expecting Jaylon Smith to replace Zadarius Smith. What do you think this move means for the Packers?
Good young player. And I mean, also, did you see Jair Smith might get surgery?
Jair Alexander, you mean?
Yeah.
Are you really?
On AC joint sprain?
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
That's not good
Hence
at all.
why they were linked to Gilmore at first.
That's not good at all.
I like the move for the Packers, Joe. Honestly, I think that that defense was already pretty good. And now you're adding someone like Jaylon Smith, who's just... I still think his best play is yet to come.
Yeah.
I feel like he was one of those guys that just got released too soon. Like, listen, if the Vikings should have been all over him.
I feel like there's a lot of teams that should have been all over him.
Anthony Barr has been nothing. He hasn't played. He's been terrible.
But these guys, once these guys get cut, they're only going to go to teams that they believe are going to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, and Green Bay is right there. Green Bay is one of the top.
You know,
contenders.
Gilmore, I will say this about Gilmore. He didn't choose to pick his team. If he was a free agent, I highly doubt he would have chose to go to Carolina over, like, a Green Bay.
Well, you know what's
or
funny?
a Tampa or a Cleveland. You know what I mean?
You know where Gilmore's from?
Is he from Carolina?
He's from North Carolina.
I didn't know that.
So it's kind of interesting. Do you want to address the elephant in the room right now?
Go. That was my next and last portion. So let's move on, and let's move on to the clown show that is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So do you want me to give you my opinion?
Yeah, please
first?
go ahead, because I'm so disgusted at this point. I don't even want to talk about it.
So this
it has nothing to do with the play on the field, because while they're a bad football team, and while I was really like heartbroken about that loss on Thursday, where they had a lead like pretty much the whole game, I'm seeing the weekly progress, especially from the quarterback. So I'm happy about that, but this guy has made it all about him ever since he's been there.
He's not making it through the season.
You really don't think so?
I'm saying this now, Joe. He will not be the coach of this team the next few weeks. I'm surprised he's making it to this week, because I'm telling you right now, there was those reports that you remember right before I came over that day when we watched Week 1 football. You said, "Are you seeing these La California reports?" And I'm like, "No." And you guys, it's all. You were like, "That's bullshit." It's like, and everybody, listen, no disrespect to La California, but I don't think he's the most liked.
He's not the most reliable.
He's not
source
the most
either.
reliable source either. So you're like, dysfunction in the locker room, whatever. Urban Meyer. There is like a laundry list of things that this guy has done since he's gotten.
I know.
That have created a rift. And now it's like that video surfaces. And let me say this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Let me say this. If you are a high-profile NFL coach, and granted, great, it's your bar. I don't care. People have cell phones now, and this goes for anybody, any young athlete, any person in a position of power, anything. Don't get yourself caught in a situation that is going to jeopardize your family and your career. This guy needs to realize, first of all, first issue was that not flying back with the team.
That is where I was going to stop you.
Asinine.
That's where I was going to stop you. To me, it's not even about that. What he does on his own personal time, I could care less about. Personally, John, is he a guy that it looks really sleazy on his part with a wife of over 30 years or whatever that is, and he has kids? 1,000% it looks sleazy and it looks disgusting, right? That's not the argument here. What you just said is the problem that I have. You don't fly back with the team after suffering the most brutal loss of the season, where they had them on the ropes and they couldn't stop them in the second half. And yes, apparently he cleared it with the GM weeks in advance or a week in advance before they went there. I don't care. You don't do that.
You lose the locker room right there.
You go back with your team. You're supposed to be the leader of the football team. You're the guy in charge. His mentality is literally own it. Literally, that is his slogan for the team. It's pinned on the back of their jersey. Own it. That's what he's not doing.
Not at all. And it's crazy because, like, when the video surfaced, it was like, this looks bad. Like, this girl's dancing on him, whatever. Like, then the second video came out, and that's where I was like, you know what? This guy's got a problem. Like, you're going to sit there and tell me that it's okay for this. Like, not you. I'm saying, like...
No, I'm with you.
People don't realize the magnitude of this situation. Like, you can't just, like, be groping college females, okay? Like, dude... What the fuck is wrong with you? Granted, I'll give him this. This chick seemed to be into him. At the end of the day, though, fucking control yourself. You're in a public setting. You're the coach of the most fucking scrutinized NFL team this year with the
solely because of him.
Yeah, solely because of you and the second coming of Jesus Christ as your quarterback. This is the problem. So when you turn around and you start fucking fiddling with some chick's ass in the fucking bar, dude, you can't do it. Like, you just can't do it. Like, what is wrong with you? Not to mention she's half your age, bro. Like, people have phones. What is wrong with you, man?
He clearly was not thinking in the situation.
I don't think he's thought since he's gotten to the NFL. You know, how much money is this guy getting paid to be the coach?
That's another
thing. To just create a problem every week.
That's never been revealed. You know that, right?
He's getting paid insane money, Joe. He has to be getting paid John Gruden level money. And how do you get away with this?
It was never disclosed how many years he signed for and the money that he's making. It was never disclosed. Never.
He's not making it past this season. No way. He's right now trying to figure out how to get himself to USC. He's done.
I don't even think USC wants him at this point. There was a thing that came out today saying that 85% of the Power 5 schools wouldn't even hire him.
This guy was controversial. Listen, Urban Meyer is a legend.
Yeah, but he's controversy filled.
Controversy filled, and you would think it would have stopped at the NFL, and guess what? It didn't. It's only gotten worse. I'm telling you right now that I wouldn't be surprised, Joe, if this week the players make a statement and they kind of lay a fucking dud.
I don't think they're going to do that because I think that this locker room, the players specifically, they like each other. They really want to succeed with each other. So if anything, they're going to play for each other.
But they don't like him.
I think it's divided, for sure. I think they're divided on him. But listen, this is the age-old thing, and I'm going to say this confidently. Winning cures everything. John, if they're 4-0, this is a non-story. Okay?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's a non-story if they're 4-0. But the fact that they're 0-4, and they haven't particularly looked great, it's sad because, there's a lot of fans like myself who are really looking forward to this season and they're looking forward to the growth of Trevor Lawrence. And I think, and if you ask any reasonable Jaguar fan what they were expecting out of this year, they were expecting to just see a better overall product on the field. They weren't expecting to see a playoff team. They weren't expecting to see a team who was going to conquer the world. They're expecting to see a better product on the field. And while the team maybe 0-4 this year, and yes, this team is better than last year's team. I don't want to hear it, even though I don't care what their record is right now. It's better than last year's team. He has been a distraction from day one. And for you to have to come out and publicly say that you need to regain the player's trust after 4 weeks, to me, is a nail in the coffin. It's a nail in the coffin. I mentioned Joe Brady before. Sign me up.
Eric Bieniemy?
Sign me up.
Are we everyone just Eric Bieniemy doesn't interview well, so we're not going to hire him?
Sign me up. I mean, if he doesn't turn this thing around by season's end, I don't know how.
Shad Khan's done with him. It sounds like.
You know why I'm saying no to that? Only because Sean Khan really invested in this guy, and I feel like he doesn't want to give up on him so quickly.
Now, is it because he thinks that there's something... Before we move on, is it because he thinks that there's something within him, or is it just because of his status?
I think he thinks that he's won everywhere he's been, and he'll figure it out at this level as well. That's solely what I believe. If his resume wasn't what it was, he would already be gone.
I agree. You're right.
That's my what I have to say about that. So, now that I'm firmly pissed off, before we go to our second segment.
You knew this was going to happen.
Thank you, John. Let's take a quick break so I could punch a hole in the wall. And we'll come back. We're going to discuss the Giants and the Saints. And we're going to discuss the Patriots and the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. So we will be right back.
Hey y'all, Spencer Blinn, the producer for Perfect Spiral Podcast, and you're listening to my band Hollow Choir's new song, What You Want. Available now on Spotify. What you want?
All right, John. Let's get into our second segment, which is going a deep dive into a couple of games this week. There were actually a couple of good games to choose from, but let's really focus on a couple here. I could have went to the Jets and the Titans, but I feel like there really wasn't a ton to talk about with that game.
It was a mess, that game.
I mean, listen, the Jets got the job done. Good for them. Congratulations on their first victory. I'm not going to discuss the Cardinals and the Rams because the Cardinals really just outplayed the Rams from top to bottom in that game.
Oh yeah,
there's really no sense to do that. But let's go to New Orleans first, because I was really surprised about the outcome of this game, specifically how the Saints played. You know,
they're a Jekyll and Hyde team.
They are a Jekyll and Hyde team for sure. They, just when you get pulled in by them, they come out in week one and they absolutely obliterate Green Bay. Like, wow, this team looks great. Then they come out in week two and they get blitzed by Carolina. And you're like, oh, maybe they're not so much. Then they come out in week three and they pound the Washington football team. So it's like, what team are you? So they come at home. First game at home in front of the fans of the Superdome after Hurricane Ida. So everyone's excited. It's their Saints fired up. And they come in, and it's not like they played poorly, but they never asserted their will.
They never pulled away.
Against a team that was coming into the game 0-3, and their backs, they had just lost a heartbreaker the week before to the not the Washington football team. They lost to, that was week two. They lost to, how did they lose to last week?
I'm trying to think.
Oh, Atlanta.
Yes.
They lost a heartbreaker to Atlanta.
In the last second.
And it was like, this team was on their last leg. And they just, like you said, they let them hang around, right? They got out to a 7-0 lead. Taysom Hill looked like he was Marshawn Lynch on that touchdown run. Then they let Daniel Jones come back and drive. And it's just like, it just never, I'm looking at, let's read some stats off here. I mean, Jameis was okay. He was 17 of 23 for 226 and a touchdown. Kamara ran the ball 26 times for 120 yards.
Which isn't his game.
And I'm going to get into that in a minute. But first talk about the Saints first. What's your deal with New Orleans? What type of team do you think are they? They're clearly driven by their defense, I think.
Yeah, So it's weird, right? Because on the surface, you would think that this team is better with Winston than they are with Drew, right? Because of the deep passing ability,
right?
The ability to stretch the field. Jameis can make all the throws. I mean, we could say what you want about Jameis. He can make every NFL throw, and he's got a hell of an arm. He's got probably one of the best arms in the league. But the weird thing about this team is just like they never, like you said it best. They never assert their dominance, and it's like, you let this Giants team hang around. You're giving up big plays. You're giving up that big play to John Ross over the top.
The touchdown.
Which that changed the entire momentum of the game.
That's what you thought changed the momentum of the game?
Yeah, you're letting this guy who just...
I thought the Barkley touchdown changed the momentum.
Well, the Barkley touchdown was huge, too. I mean, we'll get to the Giants in a second.
Yeah.
they're just a weird team, man. They're in that like Raven zone of weird where it's like I don't know if they're good or not. Like going into the season, we were both very like, where do we place this team within their division? Like, are they a 10-11 win team?
No.
Or are they an 8-win tean?
I think they're a 500 football team.
They're playing 500 ball. They're not like
they're going to be a team that's 9-8, 8-9.
Yes, and
7-10,
and that's their destiny.
Yeah, I think they're in no man's land. I really do. Can we talk about for a minute Kamara getting no targets in this game?
That's not his game.
What the hell is that all about? That
running the ball 26 times for 120 yards.
I mean, granted, he averaged 4.5 yards a carry. That's good, but what?
It's not his game, and that's weird. That's it. That shows that they got away from their game plan. Their game plan is not run Kamara into the ground. Their game plan is line Kamara up in the slot, line Kamara up outside, running back screens, get him in space. That's their game, not Kamara running on a draw. Not to mention, I just want to say something about the Taysom Hill plays. Granted, that run was unbelievable. I'm not like, I hate when they put him in.
He had 2 touchdowns on the ground on Sunday. But, like, I'm just, when he steps back to pass, did you see that pass he threw that was picked off? That was a brutal pass.
He stunts the offense.
And I feel like Sean Payton feels like he has to use him because of that ridiculous contract that he signed.
Oh, yeah. They love this gadget thing with him. And it's just like, it's weird because like at this point, people are like, all right, dude, we know. Like he said, he scored twice. Obviously, he runs the ball hard. Other than that, like you're lining him up as a tight end. You're lining him up as an extra blocker. Like, it's just weird for me. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't get him.
Their defense is kind of lost, too, a little bit.
You think so?
Just a pinch. So, like, how do you just, like... It's so weird. You're right. How do you blitz the Packers? You go and you lose. Then They
lose handedly to Carolina.
Yeah. And then you go and you beat Washington. And then you lose to the Giants?
It's a very, very weird football team. It's a very, very weird football team. And, from a fantasy perspective, there's not one receiver on this team that is a fantasy that is even garnered to be like fantasy rostered, let alone start.
Callaway is nothing.
I mean, Callaway had 2 targets and had 2 catches for 74 yards.
He's a deep threat. That's all he is.
So
Jawan Johnson's been the most productive, probably wide receiver that they've had,
and he's a tight end.
Yeah.
They just. Now let me ask you a question before we move on to the Giants. Does this offense change dramatically when Michael Thomas comes back?
No. If anything, I feel like it gets a pinch worse.
Really?
Because I feel like Jameis has a tendency.
I feel he's gonna pepper Thomas all game long,
and that's a problem, though. I feel like he's gonna target Thomas 20 times a game. But this is where he got in trouble in Tampa. Like, he would get fixated on Mike Evans, and it was just like, Mike Evans in double coverage, Mike Evans. And you didn't care. You just throw it. Like, and you don't want to have him doing that.
The problem with Evans, the difference between Thomas and Evans is Evans was a deep threat, so Jameis would throw it up half the time. Thomas is not a deep threat.
No, he's slant boy.
Thomas is a slant boy. So, he's not going to go 20 yards up the field.
No.
I'm just saying it's a little different. It's a little bit different.
I don't know. Jameis, man, he's playing good ball, but it's just not good enough. It's right. The Giants, though.
So let's talk about the Giants, because I sat on this podcast last week and I killed them because I couldn't believe they lost to the Atlanta Falcons at home in a game they needed to win. So they came out this week and they won a game in New Orleans. They had no business winning, of course, because why not? Daniel Jones played fine.
He played more than fine.
28 of 40 for 4. Well, yeah, I guess more than fine. 28 of 40 for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Saquon Barkley, 13 carries, 52 yards, 1 touchdown. Kenny Golladay, 6 catches for 116 yards. Shocking what happens when you get Kenny Golladay involved in the offense. Shocking what happens. Shocking, John. I'm floored. My heart may stop. That your best receiver had over 100 yards receiving and you won the football game. Floored.
You know who else they got involved? Kadarius Toney.
Oh, only a first-round pick.
It only took 2 injuries.
It only took Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard to be out for them to get Kadarius Toney involved. Newsflash. Kadarius Toney's more valuable to the Giants than Darius Slayton is.
And that's not an overreaction.
It's also not a bad thing to say about Darius Slayton, but Kadarius Toney's a better football player than Darius Slayton is.
100%.
Hands down. Their starting receiver core should be Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay, and Kadarius Toney. That's it. That's it.
I agree.
Now let's talk about the guy.
Daniel Jones?
Saquon.
Oh.
Got to talk about Saquon.
I thought you want to talk about Danny Dimes.
Well, we'll talk about Danny Dimes in a minute because I think he warrants to be talked about. Okay, but let's talk about Saquon. Right? We have seen, everything that we heard about in the preseason has come to fruition so far this season. The reports out of camp were the Giants were going to use him sparingly and they were going to increase his workload as the season went on. Right? And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And this week, to me, he turned a corner this week. Not last week. This week, he turned a corner. He played 85% of the snaps. He carried the ball 13 times for 52 yards, which is good for 4 yards a carry. He probably should have carried the ball more, if you ask me. And they lined him up at receiver. That pass from Jones to Barkley on the sideline to a 54-yard touchdown was a thing of beauty.
Oh, he burned Lattimore.
Yeah, that's the Saquon that we all remember pre-injury. That's the Saquon we remember.
He looked healthy to me.
If that's the Saquon we're going to get, that makes this Giants offense that much more lethal.
Scary.
Now, I still don't think they're a good football team, right? And you're going to get a true test of where they are this week when they go into AT&T and play the Cowboys. If they could walk into Dallas and beat a Cowboy team, then we're having a different conversation. But if that doesn't happen, then, we'll see where we are.
That's what we thought.
Right? But from a Saquon perspective only, do you think he's fully back now?
I think that he's almost there. I think he's very close. I feel like, honestly, congratulations to the clapper. I'm going to give him a clap. You finally figured out how to use him.
Lining him up at receiver is genius, I think.
Oh, it's incredible. He's a mismatch. Like, he's too fast and he's too big. And he has amazing hands.
I just think they got to give him I feel like they're not giving him the ball on the ground enough because they don't want him to take that many hits. Is that weird to say? But
they got to get him in space. Screens. Line him up in the slot.
Yeah.
Have him run an out route.
Use him in a Christian McCaffrey type or an Austin Eckler type role.
That's his destiny. Yeah, that's his destiny. That's what he's meant to be.
So I think if they do that, instead of using him in like a Joe Mixon type role, which I think they're trying to, or they were using him in, I think he'll be more beneficial in an Austin Eckler role. I mean, we see, and it's not like he can't run for over 100 yards if he's using an Austin Eckler role. We saw Austin Eckler rush for over 100 yards on Monday night against the Raiders, right? But you also see Austin Eckler lining up in the slot. You see him lining up on the outside. You see him, go out for running back screens, all this other stuff, right? I think we could see Barkley in the same way, right? So that's fine. Let's talk about Daniel Jones. The last time Daniel Jones played a good game was 2 weeks ago on Thursday Night Football against the Washington football team, and they lost that football game by a point. And what did we say? We said for us to take Daniel Jones seriously, he needs to come out the following week and he needs to play a good football game. He needs to stack game on top of game, right? He did not do that against the Falcons. And they put up 14 points and they lost 17-14 at home. This week he comes into New Orleans and he plays a good football game. I'm going to say the same thing again. He needs to stack it. He has a huge game on Sunday against the Cowboys. Humongous game, right? The Giants started 0-3. They could find themselves a game out of first place if they go into Dallas and beat the Cowboys on Sunday. The only way they're going to do that is if Daniel Jones, 1, plays well, and 2, protects the football.
Which he's done. You know what's funny is he's done a pretty good job. He's had 1 fumble since week 1. And the interception that he threw in New Orleans was the first interception he threw all year. So he is getting better at protecting the football. I feel like I think people need to pump the brakes on saying that he's done for. I think that there's something there. But you're right, Joe. He needs to stack games. He needs to stack one good game on top of the other because going from throwing almost 420 yards to throwing 180 yards ain't going to cut it. And if I'm him, I'm watching film on Trayvon Diggs all night and all day.
Yeah, right?
I want to know exactly where Trayvon Diggs is at all times.
Well, Diggs is probably going to be on Kenny Golladay.
Yes. So I'm staying far away from him. I'm not even trying to throw the ball that way. So I think this was a good stepping stone for him. I feel like this season has been a good stepping stone for him because, listen, at the end of the day.
But what is this Giants football team? What are they?
I think that they're in a better spot than the Jets. I mean, if we're going to compare New York teams. If you want to compare like one and... Oh, my God. Did he just go deep?
He did. Justin Turner just annihilated a baseball from Adam Wainwright.
The guy's beard is sick.
I love Justin Turner. Former Met.
So, Joe's miserable tonight.
Former Met.
So, what is this Giants team? I mean, they play hard. I think that they make really stupid mistakes. I think that they make game-costing mistakes that most teams don't make. If you could limit the mistakes and just play fundamentally sound football, they could actually be solid. I'm not like I pegged them to have 10 wins this year. I believe in the Giants. I think they are a good football team that just makes a lot of dumb mistakes. I think they like their coach. I think they like who they play for. I think they like their teammates. I feel like there's a core there. Just limit the mistakes. That's it. They just make they shoot themselves in the foot too many times.
Way too often. I agree.
Like special teams mistakes? Come on. Special teams coach Joe Judge. Really? You're going to make special teams mistakes? Stupid penalties. The offensive line's been better.
Yes, and Andrew Thomas has been better as well.
So, like, just limit the mistakes, and I feel like they could actually win some ball games.
Well, we'll see what they do next week against the Cowboys. Let's move forward to a game that we didn't all particularly think was going to be a close game, but it ended up being a very entertaining football game, and it was on national TV, so everybody got to watch it. And that is the Tampa Bay Bucks and Tom Brady's return to Foxborough to face Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots in a score that resulted in a 19-17 Tampa Bay win in a game that many people believe that Mac Jones outplayed Tom Brady.
He did.
So, John, did you watch the game?
I watched 90% of it.
Okay, what was your take on... Well, let me first ask you, what was your take on the whole Brady thing and, you know...
Belichick. And,
what was your whole take on that?
All right, so first of all, I want to call out NBC really quick, live on the pod. The whole, like, Adele, hello, it's me trailer, like, Brady and Belichick, like, hello from the other side. Like,
yeah.
That was not it. I'm sorry, that was not it. Like, that was so stupid. It was so corny. I feel like they built this up almost to a nauseating degree. You're going to tell me that, first of all, I think the fact that these guys don't like each other is overblown.
Oh, 100%.
I think that
they're fine with each other.
Yeah, I think they're fine.
I don't think they're best friends.
No, of course not. Why would you be best friends with your head coach? It's like me being best friends with my boss.
How could you also hate someone that you won 6 Super Bowl titles with?
You can't. Your career is tied to him forever. You know, like he went and met with him after the game for 20 minutes or so in the locker room privately. Listen,
Belichick's also not a guy who's gonna go. He's gonna.
He's not woo-rah, you know.
Yeah, he's not wearing his emotions in front of the public, and he doesn't wear them on his sleeve.
He doesn't wear them ever.
So yeah, if he does anything, it's going to be privately, which it was.
Yeah, and I think that they overblew that. But in regards to the game, a hell of a game.
It was a great game. Defensive battle for the most part.
Of course. And I think that goes back to knowing Tom Brady and coaching him for 20 years. And
I feel like we should have known that going in, right?
You would think that it was all of that was overlooked because of the whole history thing.
Right. It's like if there's one guy who knew how to play Brady defensively, it was Bill Belichick.
Of course. And you know what's funny is like Brady was, from what I watched, because I watched most of it and then I have a terrible habit of falling asleep because I wake up so early for work. But Brady looked a little lost at times. He was missing on a lot of throws.
Yeah, I think he was definitely a little rattled. Not because he was getting pressure on every play. It's just the coverage was excellent.
He was getting so many different looks. He didn't know how to process it. Like Belichick literally, if this was the Patriots Super Bowl, Belichick threw the kitchen sink. This was, and I'm going to say this, and this might sound bold. This might be a hot take. People are going to come at me. You're going to come at me.
Oh, okay. I can't wait to hear this.
This was one of Belichick's best coach games. The only game that I think was better coached than this was the Rams Super Bowl.
I don't think that's bold. I mean, that's a lot of games to say it's the second best one he's ever done. But I think the magnitude of what this game meant to not him per se, but like the fans of New England, like he knew how much it meant to them and how much him coming back meant. I can understand that. I totally agree with your second point that his best coach game was the Rams Super Bowl. That was a masterpiece.
That was a tour de force.
That was a masterpiece. But what they did in this game was very defensively was excellent. Excellent.
There was one gaffe though.
Which was
the kicking of the field goal.
Yeah,
What'd you think about that?
I hated it. When
terrible.
They brought him out for 56 yards, I said, what in the world?
In the rain. And it's Nick Folk.
I mean, granted, he almost made the kick. He hit the goalpost. But, I mean, there was a little bit of time left on the clock for them to try to get a little closer, was there not?
There was, and even so, like, even if he hit that field goal, you're still giving the ball back to Brady with damn near 48 seconds left.
I don't know. I mean,
Mac was killing them all night on the short dink and dunk. Mac was playing the Brady game.
Mac was playing fine.
Everything was short into the sticks. Richard Sherman, dude.
Yeah, well, he just signed this past week. That's what Mac was 31 of 40 for 275, 2 scores, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. That was his game. Not a bad game at all by the rookie.
No. He was playing everything short into the sticks. McDaniels called a short game. They were not letting him push the ball upfield, which that is, if we're talking about concerns out of this game, that's my one main concern with this Patriots offense is they do not let him push the ball upfield.
No, it's very Tua-esque, is it not?
It's very Tua-esque. They don't let him go any further than 10 or 15 yards. But
Which is crazy because then why the hell did you sign Nelson Aguilar?
It doesn't make any sense. It's weird, right? So when I go back to that field goal, it's like Mac was killing them all night.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to take the ball out of your rookie's hands? Like, that was the one thing where I'd say, like, Bill, you kind of messed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, that team played as well as it was going to play against a team of that magnitude, I think. And I think that as a team, they're okay. But I think I feel like that team is on the same level as the Giants and the Saints. It's a common theme among those 3 teams. They're kind of just there. They exist. They're definitely not Super Bowl contenders.
No, not at all.
There were people thinking that New England was going to be like go to the AFC title game this year. That is not going to happen.
No way.
Not even
no
remotely.
Shot.
You had them winning the AFC East. Are you taking that back yet?
No, I'm not taking that back yet. I'll ride that one out.
You're going to ride that one out for a little bit?
I'll ride that one
All
out
right.
for a little bit.
I think you're off your rocker. But I think the Bills have asserted themselves as the clear-cut team in that division.
I want to see them play each other first.
Well, yeah, okay. That's fair. But listen, I think, Mac is looking better and better each week. The defense is good. I think J.C. Jackson has established himself, we said this before, as a bona fide stud.
Matt Judon.
Matt Judon was in Brady's face all night long. Defense is good. But defense is always good with the Patriots. They're always prepared. That's the one thing I'll always say about Bill Belichick defense. They will always be prepared.
Yeah.
Every single week.
I'll tell you this, too, though. This is a better team than last year.
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely. Now let's flip the script and let's talk about the Bucs. This is 2 weeks in a row now that the Bucs have not, and I'll say this actually, outside of the Atlanta game, and I'm gonna exclude that game because it's Atlanta. They haven't looked overly dominant in any of their games this season, and they lost to the Rams pretty handedly. They did not look dominant in this game, and they didn't look dominant in the Cowboy game. So I'm just going to come out and ask you, is there anything wrong with this Tampa Bay Bucs team?
I think they have a problem on the back end of their defense. I feel like losing Sean Murphy-Bunting, Carlton Davis is now hurt. They've struggled in the back end of that defense. Now you signed Sherman, who he got killed because he just signed, but at the same time, Sherman wasn't very good to begin with anymore.
I mean, he's past his prime, but they need help.
Yeah, they needed help. You know what I think this is for Tampa, and we're gonna cross sports again. Let me cross sports one more time.
Okay.
This reminds me a lot of the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, okay.
They're like complacent. They know they're going to win 12 games. So it's like, let's coast through the season. Right? Let's get comfortable. Enjoy the ride. Brady's going to throw 40 touchdowns again. You're going to get to the you're not winning the NFC. I don't think they win the NFC.
Too early to tell, I think, but okay.
Yeah, I think that they're up there, but if we're talking about
it's a much more even playing field than we thought.
Yes, much more even playing field because you got Green Bay, you got the Rams, and you got now the Cardinals.
Right.
I think they're just kind of coasting right now. You know, they're just kind of trying to get by, just trying to squeak by. They have a pretty easy schedule.
Very Kansas City of them from last season.
Yes, very Kansas City. And listen, you don't want to get caught sleeping against a good team.
Right.
You know, like, and Dallas, listen, Dallas hung around. Dallas almost won that game, like you said.
Right.
Atlanta's one of the worst teams in football. Of course you're going to dominate them. If you didn't dominate them, then there'd be a problem.
Right.
Going against New England, let New England kind of, you know, are we going to throw this game out as an aberration because it was Belichick and he knows Brady? I mean, listen, they play Miami next week. If Miami turns around...
They should beat Miami by 30 points.
Of course they should. If they don't, then now we're talking
And they're
problem.
at home. Right.
Now we're talking problem. I'm not sounding the alarm yet on them, but I just think they're comfortable. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, two things I want to just talk about really quick before we move on. One, Leonard Fournette has established himself as the lead back in that backfield, bar none. There is no more committee to me in any sense of the word.
It's him and Gio.
It's him. He out-touched Ronald Jones on Sunday night. 20-6 in the rushing department. And he had 3 catches on 5 targets, and Ronald Jones didn't even get a target. So Leonard Fournette is the clear number 1 back. And I'll ask you, as a fantasy football expert, is he a viable weekly starting running back in fantasy this year?
I think he's a solid flex play for now. I'm not saying I'm going to put him in my RB1 or RB2 spot. If you have nobody else on your team, then sure. But I mean, if you have a deep team, he's definitely worth a flex play, and he's definitely worth a flex play this week.
Okay.
100% against Miami.
Second thing. I think this may be the best. This is going to be... No, that's not how bold this is. This might be the best run defense I've ever seen. Do you know how many rushing yards the Patriots had on Sunday night?
I think it was something like 14.
-1.
Oh.
This rushing defense is off the charts good. Like, they completely take a facet out of the game for other teams.
They definitely do.
And this is why their pass defense is so important. Because if they could figure out a way to stop teams, they are 31st right now in the pass defense, and they're number 1 in the rush defense.
What a disparity.
If they can find a way to be average in pass defense, that even keel that we just talked about, I think they assert themselves. Mm-hmm. Right?
I agree.
The only reason teams are scoring on them right now is because of their passing defense. You're not scoring on this team by running the football. It's not happening. The only way you're scoring is by passing the ball. This team literally doesn't give up yards on the ground. Does not happen.
None.
I mean, I don't know how long Carlton Davis is out for, but I think you're going to see them make a trade deadline move for a corner on a bad football team. A good corner on a bad football team will be on this team by the end of the trade deadline.
I agree.
Because that is the one thing that they're missing from this team, I think, to get back to the Super Bowl. I mean, but this run defense is just
stellar.
Amazing. Off the charts good. Literally some of the best I've ever seen. It's really, really good. So that's our 2 games we're talking about in depth. Really quick before we move on, the Arizona Cardinals have taken over our number 1 spot in the power rankings after taking down the Rams in LA 37-2. Pretty dominantly too, no?
Yeah, it was handily. It wasn't even close.
Steelers are still a bad football team. losing to the Packers at home. Quickly, Broncos lost pretty handedly to the Ravens at home, and the Raiders lost to the Chargers for both teams suffering their first loss of the season. I think that I said I was going to be a believer in the Raiders if they beat LA.
They did not.
They did not. So I hence am standing by. I do not think I am not a believer in that team yet.
They were thoroughly outplayed.
They were definitely out in the first half. They got absolutely manhandled. They started to mount a little bit of a comeback, but once I think the Chargers figured out what was going on, they kind of just rolled past them. And then with the Broncos didn't stand a chance all game against Baltimore. The Ravens were missing players on defense, and Denver still managed to score 7 points.
I want to ask you a question really quick in regards to Ravens-Denver game.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that whole last play run thing?
I think it's BS. I mean, listen. I really think it's interesting what Fangio said after the game, right? Because I think a lot of people feel that way about the Ravens as an organization.
That like they care about like individual accomplishments and not like the bigger picture of winning a championship?
Not even that. It's just the sportsmanship aspect. Do you remember what they did last year when they beat Tennessee?
Oh, yeah.
And they kind of like acted like children a little bit.
It's been a common theme there.
So I think it's just like, it's weird, right? I mean, there's a reason that I think it's displayed that people don't like them. And maybe they wear that as like ammunition. But, I mean, you couldn't just kneel the ball. You needed to get those 5 or 6 yards. I mean...
All for some record that like...
And what if like... here's what I'll say. If they do that again against the wrong team, someone's going to get hurt because they're going to go...
Bingo.
They're going to target...
Bingo.
I mean, especially giving the ball to Lamar and letting Lamar do the run. What was stopping a Denver player from just literally... Blasting him on that play?
And what if he got hurt? What's the answer then? Your franchise quarterback gets hurt because you want to go for some stupid record. Then in the grand scheme of things, guess what? You know who played on Sunday night? Tom Brady. Who also, by the way, we forgot, congratulations, most passing yards all time. Nobody cares about the fucking Ravens record. They care about other stuff. They don't care about that.
Yeah.
Good for you. You passed a record of the Steelers that nobody actually really knew about. Even football fans, when they just matched it. Cool. Who cares? They suck anyway, the Ravens. God. I didn't like it. I didn't
like it either.
I was with Fangio. I agree.
So
Fanny Pack Fangio.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hit up our last segment, Fantasy Sleepers and Busts for Week 5, and the weekly game picks, where Joe is catching up. Be right back. John, I'm just noticing you had a little boo-boo on your head there. What happened there?
I did. I decided to shave my head because I had a fantastic date tonight. We'll see how it goes in coming days, I guess. No, it really was. I had a great time. I decided to shave my head because, I want to look presentable. Actually,
I hear you.
For once in my life,
and you just completely fucked that up,
dude. I clipped myself. It was gushing blood. I thought I was gonna need to go to the emergency room.
Oh my god. Well, let's get back to bigger and better things.
I survived.
Let's talk about. We have not done well in the fantasy department the past couple of weeks.
Who, me and you?
Yeah, I did not do great with the sleepers this past week. I think we went 0 for 3 with the sleepers. I gave myself an inconclusive with Jimmy G because he got hurt during the game.
Are you allowed to do that?
Of course I am. It's my podcast. I can do whatever I want.
Joe gave himself an inconclusive. Oh my god, this guy. He's on fire today.
I obviously missed on Sony Michel, and I missed on Kyle Pitts as a sleeper. We are pretty good at nailing down the busts, I think. You had Kyler Murray as a bust, missed on that because he had a good game.
Yeah, he had a great game.
But you did hit on Nick Chubb being a bust this week, and you definitely hit on CeeDee Lamb being a bust. He only had 2 catches for 15 yards. Did not have a good game. So,
thank you, Joe.
That being said, let's talk about our fantasy sleepers and busts for week number 5. How do you want to do this? Do you want me to go first? Do you want to interchange? How do you want to do this?
Go first, and then I'll give you my. We'll go back and forth.
Okay, so let's do quarterback first. My quarterback bust of the week is Justin Herbert of the LA Chargers.
Interesting.
Okay.
Explain.
Explain. Currently, the Cleveland Browns, they are playing the Cleveland Browns this week. Cleveland Browns own the number 1 defense in the NFL, overall defense in the NFL. Over the past 2 weeks, they've given up 13 points, 6 points to the Chicago Bears. And last week, they gave up 7 points to a Minnesota Viking defense in Minnesota after they scored 31 points on the Seahawks the previous week. They are one of a few teams to allow less than 1,000 yards in 4 weeks of the NFL. They have only allowed a 57.7 completion percentage so far. They have, let me see what I got here. They have also 14 sacks as a team, which is good for second in the NFL so far this year. So they're getting to the quarterback. They've been excellent this year. They've only allowed 6 passing touchdowns to quarterbacks to 2 interceptions. So they're actually getting balls on turnovers. They are just they have been very good this year on defense as a whole. They've been excellent against the pass. I don't see really a scenario in where that's going to change this week. But the Chargers have a tough matchup. I will say, I'm not saying this because he's on my team, but I do think Austin Eckler's going to have a big game solely because I think that Herbert's going to get a lot of pressure in this game, and I think you may see a lot of dump-offs to the running back. I do think, to get the Chargers going in this game, they're going to need to throw the ball down the field, and I think that's where Mike Williams is going to have to come in. They did not get Mike Williams involved at all on Monday against the Chargers. And consequently, I don't think they passed the ball, and he threw 3 touchdowns. 2 of those were to the tight ends. But the receivers did not have a great game. Both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams both did not have a great game on Monday night. So I think Herbert struggled. When I say bust, I think, again, outside of the top 12 fantasy starting quarterbacks, I think Justin Herbert falls out of that space.
So you want my quarterback sleeper?
I do. That would be wonderful.
So my quarterback sleeper for this week is going to be Joe Burrow.
Guy that you own on your team.
The guy that I own on my team. So I'm starting.
Shocking.
I'm starting Joe Burrow this week over Jalen Hurts. I don't like Jalen Hurts' matchup against Carolina.
Okay.
I'll say this. Burrow's going against a 17th ranked pass defense. Jair Alexander is going to be out. I feel like those wide receivers are going to feast. I feel like this is going to be a way closer game than what people think. And just for reference on why I think so, I'm going to tell you right now because I want to make sure I was correct before I say this. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my phone is stupid. The line on this game is...
I think it's like 3, right?
It's like 3. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it's 3.
It's 3.
Yeah.
The line is 3. I mean...
Bengals are getting 3 at home.
Yeah. So I think anytime you're a home dog, that's a recipe for disaster. But I think that Burrow has been fantastic this year.
Any receiver particular that you think is going to have a good game?
I think Jamar Chase has a fantastic game again.
Okay.
I'm not saying Tyler Boyd. Sorry.
Trying to get you to bite there.
I think Jamar Chase does have a big game. I mean, Jamar Chase has been absolutely fantastic for a guy that all preseason they focused on his drops. He's been great. But Joe Burrow is my quarterback sleeper.
Okay.
Which, by the way, for reference, I'm going to add this. Since we use the Sleeper app, for anybody who uses the Sleeper app, it's the greatest fantasy app of all time. We're not sponsored by Sleeper. Burrow is 75% rostered in Sleeper, 31% start so far. Interesting
Excellent.
numbers.
So my running back sleeper this week is going to be the...
Wait, you mean your running back bust?
Bust, I'm sorry. Is going to be Antonio Gibson of the Washington football team.
He's been horrendous.
He's still a starting running back. So they are playing the Saints this week. And the Saints own the number 2 rush defense in the NFL currently. They've only allowed 264 yards on the ground through 4 games. They are averaging 3.1 yards a carry, which is good for 3rd in the league. And they've only allowed, I'm just using this side. They've allowed 2 touchdowns, and they've only allowed 5 runs of 10 or more this year to opponent rushing yards.
Interesting.
Last week, Saquon Barkley ran the ball 13 times for 52 yards for 4 yards a carry. That was the best any running back has done all year. I don't think that Antonio Gibson is Saquon Barkley. And John, you mentioned Antonio Gibson has not had a great season so far. So for those reasons and many others, I am benching Antonio Gibson this week.
Interesting. All right, so my running back sleeper I have locked and loaded. Are you ready, Joe?
I'm ready for it, baby. Hit me.
How ready?
I'm so ready.
My running back sleeper this week is Leonard Fournette.
Oh, we talked about him already.
Yes.
Okay.
So, one, I think that he, like you said before, he's clearly established himself. But, man, he has a tasty matchup against Miami. Miami's currently the 28th ranked rush defense. I think they feed Lenny, and I think they feed Lenny often in this game. I feel like this is that game. You know where Lenny has that one game a year where he runs for like 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
I think this is this game. I think this is the game.
He's been using him in the pass game more, too.
Which is not shocking because his last year in Jacksonville, he had 73 receptions.
Yeah.
So I mean, like he can catch the ball. So listen, I don't give as much of an in-depth analysis as Joe, but I'm just saying I think Lenny is my sleeper for running backs.
That's fine.
Going against Miami.
All right, my wide receiver bust, and I'm saying this because I think that
Is he on my team?
he is on your team.
Of course, I know who it is. Go ahead, just say it.
Who do you think it is?
DeAndre Hopkins.
No, it's not
Whoa.
DeAndre Hopkins. It's actually DJ Moore.
Don't put that on me.
I am. And I am. The Eagles have surprisingly been good against on the pass defense.
They have.
Like, I didn't think they were this good, but they are. They've only given up 869 yards on 88 receptions to receivers. They're averaging less than 10 yards a catch, which is good for like top 5 in the NFL, 9.88. They have given up a lot of touchdowns. They've given up 9 this year, so that's the one bugaboo. But they've also picked off the quarterback 6 different times. So that's something. They haven't given up a lot of yak this year, top 10 in that. They're just oddly good against the pass, something I did not expect from this Eagles football team.
And he's going to draw Darius Slay.
Yeah, he's going to draw Darius Slay, who's a very good corner, underrated. We saw how Sam Darnold was last week. I think the tape is out on the Carolina Panthers offense. The Eagles are going to try to take away DJ Moore.
He's the best player.
And with Christian McCaffrey's game status up in the air, if he doesn't play, I think they're going to make guys like Robbie Anderson and Tommy Tremble and Terrace Marshall try to beat them over DJ Moore. DJ Moore had 2 touchdowns, 8 catches for 112 yards this week against the Cowboys. I don't think that happens again this week. I think that was a great game by DJ Moore. I think they're really going to try to take him. I think if I'm sitting inside Nick Sirianni's defensive team meeting right now, I think their number one priority is to take DJ Moore out of the football game. And I think they're going to do a pretty good job of doing that.
Well, let's hope not.
Let's hope not. But I hope so. But anyway, who's your wide receiver sleeper?
So my wide receiver sleeper.
Or tight end, either one.
He's going to surprise you.
Okay.
So my tight end sleeper.
Tight end.
Is Jonnu Smith.
Oh, okay.
So Jonnu Smith is going against Houston, 31st ranked defense against tight ends. He's currently rostered in only 39% of leagues in sleeper, and he's only a 12% start. Bonafide sleeper candidate.
Bonafide.
The tight end group came out this week and said that they haven't put their best product forward yet. I feel like New England has been a little slow with getting the tight ends going. I think that if there's ever a week to get the tight ends going, much like Lenny.
And Hunter Henry seems to be like the tight end 1 right now.
Yes, he does. But Jonnu Smith has been like the red zone target.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's a bigger target. I like Jonnu Smith this week. I like him for like 15 to 16 fantasy points
wow.
this week.
So you like him for like a really like top end fantasy.
I think
option.
he's gonna have one of those games he had last year where like he comes out of nowhere and he's pretty good.
Yeah.
They got to get the tight ends going.
It's funny when we mentioned when they both signed with New England, it was really going to hurt their fantasy value, and I think we nailed that a little bit. They both have not been reliable week to week fantasy options yet.
Yeah, not yet.
But you think that this week Smith comes through?
Yeah,
that's fair. All right, so there you have it. Fantasy Sleepers and Busts. We'll post that on the Twitter account before Sunday. Let us get to our game picks.
Before we get to the game picks, I just want to say one thing.
Okay.
Really quick, can we talk about the Ronaldo matchup?
I was going to do that after the game.
All right, we'll do it after the game picks.
Do it after
I'm just
game
too
picks.
excited.
So let's do the game picks. Last week, John, you went 1-4.
I was horrendous.
You did not do well last week.
Not good.
I went 3-2. First time this year I've had a winning week.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Your current year record is 12-8, and my year record is 9-11. So
Wow.
I am currently 3 games behind you. So I'm definitely within striking distance. So with that being said, John, let us go game for game. You give me 1, I give you 1, and we'll go back and forth. We do our 5.
Bum, bum.
Spencer's currently trying to work on music for this segment, which I can't wait for.
All right. You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -10.
Shit, so am I.
Fuck.
I am. That's okay.
No, it's fine.
That's
we
okay.
did this last week.
So you're taking the Bucs -10 over Miami. I think that's an easy one personally. Okay, that's why it's mine too. So what's your second one?
I'm taking Denver +1.5 over the Steelers.
Ooh, I was gonna go there, but I didn't. Okay. I like that.
Bum, bum.
What are they? You said they're +1.5?
They're +1.5.
They're plus, so they're dogs. Wow. I think they're gonna win that game too.
I think they are too. I think the Steelers are about to be in like a world of hurt.
Okay. I am taking the Panthers -3.5 at home against the Eagles. I think the Panthers are a better football team than the Eagles. I think by a lot. I think 3.5 is a small line for that game. I think that defense against Jalen. I think Jalen Hurts is going to struggle Sunday against that defense. I do think you're making a smart move by benching him this week.
I agree.
So I think they're going to struggle. I think the Panthers win that game easily.
Bum, bum. I'm taking the Giants +7.
Whoa!
I didn't even think about
Whoa!
Bum, bum, dun, dun,
Do you think they cover the spread? Or do you think they win outright?
I think that they cover the spread. I think
Okay.
that's going to be a close game, believe it
Okay.
or not.
All
They
right.
always show up for Dallas.
They do. Giants +7. I am going to go Raiders -5.5.
I love the Raiders.
They're playing the. Who are they playing?
They are playing
The
the Bears.
The Bears, yes. They're playing the Bears at home. I think they win that game. I think they get off the schneid. I don't think the Bears are a good football team. I mean, they beat a bad Lions team last week. Fields was good, but they played a bad Lions team this week. They're playing a much better team this week, and they're traveling to the West Coast. Raiders team goes back home. They just lost to the Chargers. I think it's just kind of like a perfect storm for LA, for Vegas.
I'm going Arizona -5.5 over San Francisco.
Whoa! You're going division.
I am going division. If Trey Lance starts this game, I have severe doubts about San Francisco.
Severe. He did not look good.
No, unless the receiver is wide open with a DB not within 40 yards of him, he can't make a throw. So. and this was the issue in college. He doesn't understand NFL windows. Like everything is wide open.
Yeah.
Like Deebo Samuel was wide open.
How open?
Like wide
open.
Like I could have caught that and ran.
Well. All right. So
not,
we got
actually.
2 more left. I am taking the Browns +1.5 against the LA Chargers.
Wow, we're loving the Browns on this pod.
Loving the Browns to win this game outright against the Chargers. I think that defense manhandles LA, and I think they win that game outright. Give me one more, Johnny.
All right, this is my upset special.
This is your pick 2 dog, but this is your upset special.
Upset special.
Okay, hit me.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
You're taking the Vikings, aren't you?
I'm taking Houston +8.5.
Whoa! To win?
No, I just don't think New England covers.
Think it's a close game, huh?
The over-under is 39.5.
You took them at 15.5
nothing.
last week, and they did not cover that.
I know.
They lost 40-0.
And the line ballooned to almost 19. It's like Alabama line.
So you're going back to the Houston wheel here.
I listen, David Culley's my boy. So.
Yeah, sure. My last game, we spoke about this. I'm going to take the Packers -3 against the Bengals. I think they're going to win. I think they're just a better football team,
Interesting.
top to bottom.
That's a weird line.
It's a weird line. I think the Bengals are going to keep it close for a while, but I think the Packers pull away late.
Yes.
I can see like a late touchdown making it like a 9-point game or something like that, where it was close and then it's not. Like it's close. The game is closer than the score indicates type of deal.
Yes. I
So
agree.
that's why I'm picking the Packers to take the 3. So one more time, John is taking the Bucks -10, the Broncos +1.5, the Giants +7, the Cardinals -5.5, and the Houston Texans +8.5. Joe is going Panthers -3.5, Bucks -10, Raiders -5.5, Browns +1.5, and the Packers -3. Now, before we let you go, John wants to talk about the fantasy matchup that he's eventually going to lose.
Put a line on it.
I think I'm favored by the Sleeper app. I am currently favored. This is before the DK Metcalf trade, and I have no idea if I'm playing him tomorrow night because I am skeptical again about him going against that Ram defense. He did not play well against the Rams last year.
He never plays well against Rams.
So,
but go ahead.
Contemplating benching him tomorrow. But currently, my line is the line is 9. I'm favored by 9.
That's an absurdity.
I'm projected to drop 160 points.
This is bullshit.
That's before the DK. So
start him.
So yeah, you want me to, don't you?
I do.
So currently, my starting roster consists of Patrick Mahomes, Austin Eckler, Saquon Barkley, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Mark Andrews, and either DK Metcalf or oh my God, Tyler Boyd. My kicker is Matt Gay of the LA Rams, and my defense is either the Cleveland Browns or I think I picked up the Tennessee Titans this week against the Jaguars.
No, the Vikings.
Oh, the Vikings, yes. Against the Lions. That's who I'm going to start. That is my John, what does your team consist of?
So mine is Joe Burrow,
Okay.
Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, DJ Moore, DeAndre Hopkins, George Kittle, Kareem Hunt, Greg Joseph, the kicker for the Vikings, and the Green Bay defense. I can't believe you're a 9-point favorite. This is absurd. This is not right. That's not accurate.
Why is it not accurate?
Because I feel like this is at best. This is a 4.5 game.
Well, I mean, let's break it down really quick. I mean, I'm better than you at the quarterback position. I'm better than you at the running back position.
I would like to end the pod now.
I think you're better at the tight end position, but Kittle has underperformed so far, and you mentioned if Trey Lance plays Sunday, yikes. Wide receiver, I think you probably beat me because you got Moore and Hopkins, but I think Keenan Allen and CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf are nothing to sniff at.
No.
So, I mean,
this is gonna be. God.
Listen. Let's just put it to you this way: regardless of what the outcome is, regardless whether you win or I win, right? Because anything could happen, obviously.
Yeah, it's fantasy.
I mean, we will be seeing each other again.
I think we will.
And when we do, you'll get my full wrath. So that's fine.
I think this is a championship preview.
Well, it's fine. It's fine. You will get my wrath. But, we'll have a conversation with the guys on Saturday night. We'll do what we got to do. And
what if I beat you?
If you beat me, then you beat me.
You're going to be so mad.
I'm not going to be mad. I don't get mad at regular season outcomes. No, because my team is.
You just get mad at the playoffs.
We're in it for the long haul.
I would get mad at the playoffs.
I would get mad at the playoffs because that means the season's over. So yes, I
don't know what it's like to really get mad.
But listen, the goal is to get that first round bye, to get an automatic bye to the semifinal. Then you only got to win 2 games. That's it. That's what you want. That's the goal.
This is a tough year.
That's the goal. So, first year on the Sleeper app, not doing too bad for me so far. Not doing too bad. John, any last words before we go?
We're gonna have to revisit this on next week's pod.
We definitely will, folks. This will be up tomorrow. Tomorrow we got Rams and Seahawks. Yes.
Wait, Joe, is next week the one episode where you're going on your honeymoon?
No, I will be here next week. It is the week after next week where I will not be here.
Oh, we have an awesome fill-in host.
So 2 weeks from now we will have a special fill-in guest for Perfect Spiral. I will let John announce that guest at the end of the podcast next week.
Yes, it's already set.
So stay tuned for that. But you get one more week of me, and then I will be going on my honeymoon to Cancun, where I will be enjoying every type of tropical beverage and a pool and a beach for one long week.
Good for you.
So it'll be great.
After you lose 2 straight weeks in fantasy.
Okay. We're going to go now. For John McCarthy, my name is Joe Miglio. We will see you guys next week. Enjoy week number 5 of the NFL.